Shalom to all of you. My name is Orna, and I'm talking to you from the center of Jerusalem in this very special time in what our nation and our country is going through. And I want to thank you already in advance for choosing to take God's side and check out what's happening inside so you can pray accordingly. I lead a ministry called Ot Umofet, and it means a sign and an example. It's based on something God said to the nation through the prophet Isaiah in chapter 8, verse 18. You can read it later. God had called me to a very narrow niche where Israel is a widow. In the biblical definition, a widow is not just a husband, not just a woman whose husband died, but it's also Israel and Jerusalem. When she doesn't see herself as a married woman to her husband. Her husband did not die, but he's not in the picture as far as we are concerned. And when I say we, I mean the Jewish people, the Israeli nation. In Isaiah 54, verse 4, he promises that the day will come when we will not remember the reproach of our widowhood anymore. But as of now, we do act like a nation who has no one to lean, to rely on. And that's one of the definitions of the word widow in the Bible. What happened 2 weeks ago proved how much we rely on the arm of the flesh. We never thought that, we knew always that terrorists can infiltrate our borders, but immediately the army will be there. And if something happens, immediately the unit in charge of picking up the dead bodies will be there. And if someone is wounded, an ambulance comes inside. We never thought our citizens, hundreds, thousands, will be stuck in a safety room, which wasn't really safe, and will be butchered to pieces. And again, we're reliving this time for the first time on our very soil, under the sovereignty of Israel. Stories like Kishinev pogrom, which my grandmother was 3 years old when her parents were butchered there, or the Holocaust. We do have to start lifting our eyes up. And my ministry, the focus of my ministry, is to find those niches where we act like a widow, think like a widow, behave like a widow, and pray into it and recruit others, mostly Gentiles, to pray on our behalf so that we start turning towards our husband. Israel is under judgment, a very severe judgment, painful one. And it usually, when God warns the nations in the Bible, it's because of their attitude towards Israel. When he warns Israel, it's because of our morals, but mostly idol worship, cleaving to other husbands, worshiping other gods. And so there's a lot of humanitarian needs, and you're all welcome to sow into that. But as you do that, please, what I would like to do today is help you rise above what's happening, just our angle, and try to see it from God's point of view, because one of the questions all of us ask, even Messianic believers, is how come? How did he allow that? Where is he? And what is he doing? And he is calling us to repentance. He is calling his widow to get back to the place where she calls him Ishi, Hosea 2:16, not even Ba'ali, not even my husband, but something very personal. And you know, for us, for the Jewish mind, God is not personal, because the general belief is that since the last prophet Malachi, a voice is not heard from heaven. And so we don't talk to him really, we talk through the rabbis, we rehearse prayers that have been written ages ago, but we don't go to him directly, and we definitely don't expect him to answer. And God is about to turn our hearts back to him and to turn his face that was so well hidden from us for centuries back to us, and to show us that his son is the Jewish Messiah. So this is something we've been praying for, and I'm sure if you're on that meeting, you've been praying for. It's happening. It just involves a lot of pain. God also talks a lot about judging the nations that have been used in his hands to punish Israel, but have been taken it to a far end and acting cruelly, with much cruelty. So, of course, his judgment will be over Hamas this time, even though they were a tool in his hands. Oh yeah, I'm sure you've seen the pictures and heard the details, and it's hard to contain. So that's another point of prayer, repentance over there. That would be a big miracle. I want to end with one short story. This week I traveled to a special location on the Jordan Valley called the Hill of Foreskins. And this is where Joshua had circumcised the men once they crossed the Jordan River into the Promised Land. Shortly before that, at the feet of Mount Nebo, just after Moses warns them, don't do this, don't do that, they do exactly what they were told not to do. They cleave to the gods of Midian and Moab, to Baal Peor, and it's a whole orgy going there. And then he circumcises them. And when you stand there, you look at one hand on Mount Nebo at the Jordanian side. On the other side, you see Jericho. Jericho has been conquered with the help of one woman whose entire livelihood and life story has to do with prostitution. So it's all these fornication and sexual sins woven together with God's banner of hope saying, I can even rescue that. Now she sees from, she's so much at the margins of society. She's even on the wall. She doesn't live inside the city. And she sees what's happening, and the fear of God comes upon her to such level that she's willing to risk her life. She feeds the spies, she gives them shelter, and her entire family is rescued. So we stood there and we prayed for the Rahabs on the Gaza side, on the Hezbollah side, that God will raise them up and they will be willing to give food and shelter to the right people, but also have the fear of God on them so that their families will be rescued. Wrapping it all back together, Israel is a widow that is in the process of becoming his wife. It's Naomi, a modern Naomi, coming back to the land. She is a Mara, bitter and provocative to a certain level, but she is in the process to enter back to the house of the Redeemer. And it can only happen with the assistance of Ruth, of Gentiles like you, who see us through the process, willing to go to the threshing floor in the middle of the night if needed, until together we will meet again at his home. For you, he is familiar, he has provided for you. For us, this Redeemer is dangerous. We're not sure about him, but we look at you, we see your attitude, we see your help, we see how he is your ishi, how personal he is to you. It provokes our jealousy, and it softens our hearts and prepares us to walk into our destiny. So I want to encourage you along these lines and to work on your relationship with him, because that is what's turning our hearts back to the right place. And I bless you as you go through these You know, we have to choose who we're worshiping, and you have to choose which side you support. And I want to pray, Abba, for the people watching this, that it will not be a human side they choose, but that they choose just not to stay on a humanitarian, human level, but rise above, see things from your point of view, and know exactly where each one of them is recruited to be a watchman on the wall. Because I'm called to this very narrow niche, what's happening now fuels my ministry. So I do a lot of what I'm doing now with you, teaching, sharing, recruiting. I reach out to the widows and orphans, all kinds of them here in the land. There's so many needs. I want to encourage them. I'm doing a lot of recording, just sending them short clips every day with a one verse, one short prayer, and trying to say, sometimes it's to non-believers, so I have to be more careful. Most of the time it is to believers, to turn our hearts, to fine tune, tiny little turning with each one of them, so that we are ready for whatever is coming our way. We know it's only the beginning. Thank you for being there. Thank you for carrying us. Thank you for having a heart of Ruth. I know Boaz will open his handkerchief and bless you with double portions so you can send it back our way. In Yeshua's name.